some good stories, but one really good one about New Zealand, that's for sure. Getting through New Zealand for free. Okie dokie. So, make sure we're live on Facebook. Cool. All right, fantastic. So, welcome everyone to today's Interview the Author. This is a very first episode, and I'm so happy to have on our guest here, Cynthia Johnson. So, before we kind of get into it, I'll just to give Cynthia's her background, you can kind of on the same page, you know about Cynthia. So, Cynthia is a global entrepreneur, marketing professional, author, and keynote speaker, co-founder at Bell and Ivy Marketing and PR firm based in Santa Monica, California, and also Las Vegas. Previously, she was a partner and director of marketing for Rank Lab, digital marketing agency listed in Inc. She's an advisory board member of the Millennium Alliance, which is pretty profound. It's a leading technology and education advisory firm serving Fortune 1000 C-level executives. But as we kind of transition to speaking achievement, I find this pretty, again, profound. Cynthia's been keynote speaking for companies that have been such as Alibaba Group in China, the World Government Summit in Dubai, Global Venture Summit in Indonesia, Mexico, and Web Summit in Lisbon, among others. She's also been involved in influencer and marketing events for PayPal, Joseph Carl Wine, and other leading brands. And she's also built her own personal brand to over 1.7 million followers, which is awesome. So I first came across your book, Cynthia. I don't actually know where I come across it, but as I was building my own personal brand and focusing on that, I was like, right, because I read a lot of books, and I got your audio book, started listening to it, and there's quite a lot of, because you add a lot of data into your book, right? A lot of research back in the industry, and then you get, which is really helpful, but then you get into the nuts and bolts of actually building a brand. Whereas there's so many branding books that are more philosophical, more theory, but you've got like step 1, step 2, step 3. And I think anyone that's really wanting to build their own personal brand, it's a must-have book. So I'm definitely looking forward to reading the link later on where they can kind of find it all. So with that said, thank you for your time. As we kind of transition to your book and talk a little bit more about that, for the viewers here that don't know about your book platform, would you just be happy to offer a bit of a summary of your book and kind of elaborate more on why you wrote this book in the first place?
Yeah, so for me, I realized early on, even in digital marketing, that I ended up doing, social media and digital marketing. I went from this very cool live stream company to doing social media for healthcare. And so I would go to these conferences and events, and I was like, oh my gosh, can someone help me with healthcare? It's great that you work at, whatever, Taco Bell. It's like, but what about the heart or the less, sexy companies? And then no one was really talking about that. So I started diving into just what do most people do, right? From a digital perspective, and it kind of grew my brand. And then I realized from that, that there is a gap in personal branding. It's like everybody's online. Everyone needs some form of it to get a job, to get their kid into a private school. To get a date, right? Everybody has to have some sort of presence. And then I saw a kind of a shifting trend where, there's so many talking heads. And I really didn't want to become one of them. And I was getting opportunities to speak to events and on topics that I really have no business talking to, simply because they were like, well, that person, made the assessment or judgment or whatever of my brand to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, there's all these experts in their field out there. There's all this misinformation online. If we can just find the people that are really doing the work, the people that are really on the ground and know a certain topic better than anyone, then we'll have a better world in general, right? I was speaking to this woman who she was a former national security advisor for the Bushes, the Clintons, and then Joe Biden. And she was saying she's very frustrated that there was all of this, incorrect information online. And I said, well, why don't you write for, New York Times? Why don't you go on CNN? Why don't you tell them you're a careerist? They'll believe you. And she said, well, we don't do that. We just don't do that in our career. And I was like, okay, well, as a national security advisor, former, and me living in this country, that's a little scary because if the world falls apart, it might be your fault because you're the only person that could actually speak up and say something and sway the opinion, and you're not doing it. And so with this book, I was really looking to get into the why to do it for people who maybe wouldn't look at personal branding as a way of, career growth or even understand why they would need it, because that's most people. and we really wanted to get, into the hearts and minds of those people who didn't, who maybe didn't think that they could do it. And that's why I wrote the book.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you bring up around personal branding as well, because another person I follow a lot, for a lot of years, I'm sure you have as well, is around Gary Vee.
Mm-hmm.
Even though he puts out a crazy amount of content, I don't know if it, as far as personal branding, if it holds people back where they think it's a bit narcissistic, trying to put them in the limelight. I mean, I guess anyone on the likes of Instagram is already their PR agent, right? They're their own, But I think the biggest difference with your book and your material coming out is that you actually do it in a methodical, structural way. It's not just posting up a selfie, posting up photos. You actually there's a structure and a strategy to it. There's algorithms that people don't even realize the power of what's happening there. So we'll dive into that in a second. Now, because I love sharing information and education through stories, I just want to transition into one of your most memorable stories through the methods of you kind of positioning and branding yourself. As an example, you had also one around you got to travel for free. I know you went to New Zealand. Would you mind sharing a little bit more how, because you built your brand, how opportunities?
Well, yeah. Well, the realization of building a personal brand, actually, it came out of, and I touched on this a little bit in the book, is I was not someone, like I always wanted to do something that allowed me to do anything I wanted to do. So figure that out, right? It's an interesting thing. So I had what I called a quarter life crisis. And I was at this job, and it was a fine job. I just couldn't believe that was it. Like, this is life. I come here every day, 5 days a week, and this is forever for me. So I sold everything that I owned, my car, my clothes, all of it. And I left for New Zealand. And then I went into Australia, and I went into Asia, and I was gone about 7 months. And I actually used, I did a lot of work on the internet, and I would trade internet like work with hostels and restaurants and for free food, free, tours or whatever. And I realized, I was like, oh my gosh, this internet thing, you can do it anywhere and in so many different ways and reasons. And so that's when I realized, like, this is my passion, because I can keep it in my back pocket and it can be applied to all these different things. And that's when I was like, okay, well, if in business, if you're going to start your own business, right, you can have really two things in life that'll help you. And if you have both, good for you. It's you can have money or you can have friends. And so I was like, I need to make more friends that are going to help move this along. So I started building a personal brand. And in the same way, I kind of traveled, was doing things in trade, what I was good at versus they were good at, and kind of build it on the structure of learning and partnerships. That's it's kind of the beginning of how it all started. And there's been a ton of stories since, because you make a lot of mistakes along the way. And I kind of have a casual personality. So it was, I'm fine with it, but at least now with some of what I learned, maybe people won't have to go through the same mistakes I made. Nothing too terrible, but still, it could be exhausting.
Yeah. I mean, that's why, because I don't have your physical copy yet, but I've listened to your audio book about 4 times, right, writing so many notes. And but you've also got a fantastic resource that will make available to the audience here later that on your website. You've actually got resources from the book, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So your LinkedIn.
Yeah, and they're basic guides. I think sometimes and again, this is the difference I think between Gary Vee's version, like, and there's no wrong way, right? But the difference between sort of the Gary Vee perspective and me is that time is really valuable to me. In fact, it's like the most valuable thing probably to a lot of people. And I also, don't pop out of bed at 5 a.m. like Gary Vee and like jump in a cold pool and film myself, you know what I mean? Like, so it's like I have to figure out a different way. And so with what I see a lot of times is that people, when they approach these social media platforms or their strategy, is it looks so difficult, not because it's difficult, but because it's so time consuming. So, you look at it, what's the cost benefit? If I don't know what's going to work, or where should I really be, going on and on, right? And so these guides are just outlines and structures to really open the door into the first step of like what and how these tools can be used. And they're tools. And the first steps are always the hardest to take. So I felt if I could provide those, then people might jump in a little bit more than they would have otherwise.
Yeah. And that's when Q&A will be good. I mean, this interview will be great, but I've even got a my question myself that I can add into. I'll dive into that. We'll go off the otherwise. But as we're going to move into, let's go a little bit in that box. People are following on this interview and they're getting methods of lost I did or sold on one brand. If we kind of go up bird's eye view, what's the do you have any kind of like the 5 or 6 must steps with building a brand? Start here and follow the kind of order.
Mm-hmm.
What would that kind of
So the first thing I would do is search yourself. You have to know what is out there about you. Like, it's the most important step. It's the most overlooked step because, and then also have your mom look you up, or someone like that, because first of all, if your mom can find it, like, you most likely a lot of other people are going to find it too. Like, not the same thing against moms, but if you ask them to search you, they're going to do it really thoroughly. So, and if you're afraid of what your mom's going to find, then you should be afraid of what everyone else will find too. They're also the most forgiving. That's the first step. So figure out what's on there and what's needs to go, what needs to stay, what you need to create. The second thing is to make sure it's consistent with your message. And I've heard this a lot where, I don't really want to, portray someone I'm not or whatever. I'm like, well, I look at it like you wouldn't show up to a job interview in jeans. You just wouldn't do it. So putting your non-professional or focused persona online out there for everyone to see is basically like showing up everywhere in jeans. And that's not, it's not going to help you depending on who's searching for you. So you want everything to be consistent. You want it to look good, and you want it to be clearly understood about who you are, what you want, and how to get in touch with you. That's another thing that's always missed, is like, how do I get in touch with you? And then figuring out from there, the next step is, what are some things that are going to move the needle fast? So where should you be? Should you, like, I always tell people, you shouldn't be on all social media channels if you're a busy person, because if you try to be everywhere and you see no traction, you're not going to do anything. You're just going to quit. Find one place and become really good at it first, because that'll be the best. And then when you look at, I know people say you have to write, and I don't disagree. You should write something. But why not write where there's reach and benefit, right? So like figuring out how to write for as a guest blog. If you're not a natural blogger, is probably a better choice for you than to try to blog every single day or every week on your own blog, because now you're building an audience. It takes time. Whereas if your goal is something else, let's say just to become an authority in something, well, if you can write one really good article for a major publication or a blog or something else, now you've got that third party stamp of approval and access to their audience. So that's way more, efficient and effective for you than it would be to blog. So figuring out, what it is you're actually trying to achieve and looking at the fastest way to do it, not the quote unquote, like the right way or the traditional way. Somewhere along the line, people have built these rules around what you can and cannot do that we kind of enforce each other to like abide by, but they don't exist. So that I figure out where you should be, right? And then the last thing is, the most important thing as you're getting started would be to like chill out, right? Chill out, because you're gonna make mistakes and typos, and no one's gonna care. And if they do, at least you're getting noticed. So it's like you need to relax, and you need to be communicating with other people. That's the core goal. Whether it's half hour during the week or 10 minutes, whatever it is. Social media, they're just tools to network. At the end of the day, they're tools to network and channels to broadcast. If you're not a broadcaster, focus on networking. But, you know what I mean? But you have to, at the very core of it, understand who you are, what you want, and make sure that at the very least, when people are searching for you, they're seeing that, even if you do nothing else.
Yeah, and it's you brought up so many good features then. Trying to think what one I'll pick. But let's just say, for example, someone's starting out, and of course there's Twitter, where you're massive following, I think over 4 million. Twitter, the main ones, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. How would you go, okay, sweet, well, these are one or two platforms I'll choose. So if you're more fitness industry, you say, right, I'm just going to focus on Instagram and Facebook. Like, I know Gary Vee talking around the psychology of each platform. Any kind of thought around that? Yeah,
and the psychology is important for sure, but I also look at it like this. Not all of us can be psychologists, but everybody can be successful. So the idea, to focus on the psychology of the platform is interesting. I see it all as basically like a telephone, right? Who are you going to call? That is the thing. Is it going to be a Skype call? Is it going to be a traditional phone call? Those are the major differences. The second thing is, what are your goals? Are your goals as a fitness? Are you trying to become a fitness personality? Are you trying to build a fitness blog? Are you trying to sell fitness, products? Like, what is it that you're trying to do? And lastly, what is your comfort level? If you are, maybe you're amazing in fitness, but you're a terrible writer, well, maybe rethink certain platforms. But if you're also a fitness person, but you're kind of shy behind the camera, that'll also influence your decision. The first place to be always is going to be Google, right? You got to be in Google. You have to have enough out there about you so that that Google knows that you are who you are, because that's where everyone's going first. Let's be real. Then I would say if you're a storyteller visually, remember also how all of the networks work together. So if you are like, I'm more of a visual person, well, remember Facebook owns Instagram. So the two play together. So keep that in mind, right? So anything you do on Instagram can kind of bleed into a Facebook strategy and vice versa. So you can't really have Instagram without Facebook, in my opinion, because they're telling them so much about you. And then you look, or at LinkedIn, if you're a writer and a business person, LinkedIn's obviously a much better choice. For me, I chose Twitter because Twitter is fast, it's concise, and it's a networking tool. So it allowed me to reach people that traditionally would, in a normal setting, I couldn't get to. And I knew what they wanted to see, right? What does everybody want to see? They want to see that you look important. And that was my goal, was to increase, networking. That was initially the goal. So really understanding what your goals are and achieving those, right? People, we tend to do these things over and over and over again without seeing results. If it's not working, stop doing it. Do something else. You know what I mean? Like the psychology is fine, it's great, but you cannot be so consumed with that. It's really, am I getting out of this a return on what I've put in? Because if the answer is no, there's probably a better tool for you out there. And that's where I would focus my time.
Yeah. And that's a perfect segue, thanks. Because for the people who are going to listen to what you just said and be like, hold on a minute, like, how do I know how long I should leave it? Or how do I gauge if I'm getting a return, right? Because especially with on Instagram, it's becoming more and more like people wake up, right? They look at their phone, how many posts they've done, how many likes they've got. It's been 10 minutes since their last post. So, and it can drive some people crazy, right? And so how would you gauge that? Do you have any idea as far as the big thing for me, I call it daily method of operation, right? Before consistency. So how would you gauge as far as when you should start doing a certain strategy?
If you've put a significant amount of energy, let's say 60 days into something, and you haven't reached a goal that has made you excited to be there, right? It's the excitement level. I hate to be one of those people that like quotes Steve Jobs, but I'll do it. He said, wake up every day, look in the mirror, and I ask myself, am I happy? Am I excited about what I'm doing today? And if I say no too many days in a row, I know something needs to change. So asking yourself every day, did I exceed my expectations? Did I reach them? Or am I falling very short? And if you're falling very short, you have to figure out what that change is, and look at it pretty objectively instead of, just putting content out there. Because sometimes the smallest change or the things that you think aren't going to work at all end up being the things that sort of push you into this whole next level. So yeah, I think it's really, because social media brand building can be it's a lot of work, right? And if it's not working, then you're working for nothing, and that's so boring, right?
Yeah, you gotta enjoy it.
Yeah, and I think it's important to know too that it's always more. For example, okay, if I walked into a room and no one knew me and I said, I am the greatest marketer you'll ever meet, no one would believe me. They would think I was absolutely ridiculous. But if I walked into your room and I wasn't a marketer at all, but you just started walking around and telling everyone I was the greatest marketer in the world, they would believe most likely that there's a chance I'm the greatest marketer in the world. So it's so important that those partnerships and relationships come into play, because it really is about what other people are saying about you, more so even than what you're saying about yourself. So it's that broadcasting part is, can get a little muddy when it's you on an island. Whereas if people are saying, oh my gosh, this person has one of the greatest podcasts, if you're looking for this, you need to go there. That's how you really start to generate that brand, because brand is awareness. It's the thing that people, they think about when you're not around. It's what they tell other people about you. So you do need that advocacy and support from other accounts and people. Yeah. It's a bit like you
can never be a prophet in your own home.
Yeah. Yeah, you really get it.
Yeah, I love that. So and I was also reading listening to your book. So I was like, oh man, I've got to put a course together for Cynthia, because it's just so much material here that you put into a course. But where you kind of look forward. So what's happening on the horizons for you? So Platform just came out not too long ago. What kind of project you work on, and what's kind of happening at the moment in Cynthia's life?
Yes, so we've got the agency. We've got some speaking opportunities that have come up. We actually just opened our second office in Las Vegas, so we're in two places now, which is great. We're just growing. And yeah, I mean, that's my primary concern at the moment, is to keep the message alive. I'm doing a personal brand workshop in Italy in May. I'll be in Turkey at the beginning of May. I'll be at Hong Kong in July. So, there's lots happening there. And my focus is always going to be the work, right? The brand, my brand, not everyone's, my brand is really nothing without the work, because that is what I care about. And so if I take that away, then I'm just some boring person posting. No one wants to hear from.
Yeah. I can get it. And as far as people wanting to know a little bit more actually what your agency does. So when we look at both your offices, Bell Ivy, well, first, actually, where did that name come from?
So it's art and science, or magic. Yeah, magic and science. So if you spelled it out, it would be Alexander Graham Bell and Ivy Lee. And Ivy Lee was the personal brand, original personal brand agency guy, like back in the day. Yeah. So.
Nice to know. And so you work with, I mentioned this, I think, through one of our emails, as far as if anyone's wanting to reach out to you guys about Ivy, do you guys help globally, or they can come into your offices, or?
No, yeah, we are globally. So we work with people all over. Our offices are in Santa Monica, California, and Las Vegas. And in Las Vegas, we actually have a production team and a studio. We also have partnerships and experiential capabilities. So trade show design and labor and a bunch of other really fun and exciting things. Out of Santa Monica is where all of the agency work is done, primarily outside of the content creation. So we have personal brand development. We acquired a PR company in May of last year, so we full PR services, and then digital marketing at its core. So we work primarily with companies that are slightly either more difficult storylines or in regulated industries. So that's your healthcare, insurance, wealth management, blockchain, cannabis, government, things like that. So yeah. Yeah, if you're having a hard time telling your story, because it's a hard story to tell, we're the people to go to.
Gotcha. As a fellow digital marketer myself, it's amazing. I didn't realize the amount of whether it be mortgage brokers running Facebook ads or lawyers, the regulation, what you can say, can't say, even with testimonials and stuff, advertising testimonials.
It's getting crazier too, right? We actually have clients that are now getting verified as public figures on Facebook. They have to get a card sent to their address, and then the same way you would verify a business on Google, they're doing for people on Facebook. That's how they're combating fake news. So
wow.
Yeah, you're officially getting tagged by Facebook. Congratulations.
Yeah, wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So everyone follow Cynthia on Twitter because she's got all the information. I won't keep too much longer. So as we dive into, again, I cannot recommend this book enough for people that want to get into their personal brand. I've already taken my LinkedIn strategies, everything else. I have my own little LinkedIn strategy that you've now put on steroids. Give me over 50,000 on LinkedIn. But where can we find this book? So we've obviously got you on Amazon for audiobooks. Where's the other easiest places to find your book?
All right. So it's on Amazon Audible. It's on Kindle. It's I think it's in most Barnes and Noble, Target, Walmart, tons of local bookstores. It's distributed. I'm trying to think in how many countries. I think it's actually performed really well in Kindle, and primarily I have a large global audience, and I think what's happening is they're using VPNs to download the Kindle version. So
yeah,
I think that's what's happening. Yeah, well, yeah, and it'll be actually available in China and Taiwan in I think the next 6 to 8 months. So the rights were sold there. So that's exciting. I spent a lot of time in China. So,
nice. I'd love to go to Hong Kong for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, and where can people find, or where's the best place to connect with you? So, where are you? I was like, man, I want to reach out and ask you a question. Where would the best place be?
So yeah, you can find me on Twitter or Instagram at Cynthia Live, and then my website is cynthialive.com, and my email is cynthia@cynthialive.com. So pretty straightforward. You can find me in all those places and reach out. I love people reaching out and communicating. I've had some pretty interesting conversations since the launch of the book, and people are like, did you put your email in your book? And I was like, yeah, I did.
Yeah, you're very brave.
Yeah. That's ridiculous.
Screening all your
emails. Yeah. Like a full-time job, no, but yeah, it's that's what I want to do. It's network. So I'm glad you reached out on Instagram. Is that right? Is Instagram the first time?
Actually, I was like, I'm just going to try my channel. So for people that, again, you inspired me around a lot of different things to do with the author, even though it's the platform. Again, it's more natural storyteller, conversational. But it's like, how can I continue building a brand through information, right? So like the Oprah or the Ellen Show or that kind of thing. And I love personal development, being an entrepreneur. I'm like, right, I'm going to put authors together. So you're acquiring that, so thank you very much. But to give people a little bit of background on why to reach out to you, in your book, talking about how you were at the UN Summit.
Oh, World Government Summit.
Right, and Helen Clark, who was the New Zealand Prime Minister, right? And this was my little bit of taking this information and using it on her herself, or demonstrating it. Right, I'm going to reach out, write a message, so she knows that I read her book. Some other nuances from knowing that, and then just simply ask, right? You never know. You can either not read the message, or you no, or yes.
Yeah.
And because you said yes, giving back, sending the elevator down to help people kind of come up. Here we are. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's so fun. That's so great. Yeah.
Some rapid fire questions. Just a few minutes left. So, what's your favorite quote?
My favorite quote is "Stupidity is a talent for misconception."
Stupidity. Okay, nice. I like that one. And what are your top 5 must-read books, or top 3?
So, okay, for me, Propaganda it's like a short book. I talk about it in my book. I think everyone should read it. It's by Edward Bernays. You can find the PDF online. And I also really enjoyed How Google Works. That's a great one. It's by Eric Schmidt. It's super high level inside of how Google operates and why they're so successful. And I also really enjoyed Leaders Eat Last. That's probably up there. Yeah, that book got me. I love that book. Yeah, I'd say those are my top 3, and every after that's a little. But the one thing that I think the books have in common is that these people tend to be very straightforward and science-based thinking or systems-based thinking. So it's not just about leaders eat last, so you eat last. It's like, this is why it works, and here's systematically how there's an approach. The takeaways can be very helpful, and you can actually implement them yourself, and you understand how to assess the value, or if it's actually working for you fairly quickly. And I love that style.
Yeah. Yeah, and you kind of, I can't help but go off these little tangents as you're talking about science there. I was reading your book, and based off the Myers-Briggs test, I was trying to just like gauge, like, I wonder what her personality is. You've done the Myers-Briggs.
Yes, yeah.
I don't know if you mentioned in the book, but are you? I know you do bring up. I remember the word. Are you INTJ?
I'm ENTJ. Yeah.
So is that more?
Huh?
Is that more based on like your process thing through how you feel rather than how you think?
No. It's more of an extrovert.
Extrovert.
Yeah, more extroversion. Less. And I think it's also a little bit more on delivery of results than it is. It's results, big thinking versus where INTJs are actually a very unique personality. They're kind of like finding the big impossible project that everyone thinks is never going to happen and then bringing it to life in this magical way that everyone can understand. ENTJ is a little harder to understand.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the mind thinking.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
There's an app you should try too, Crystal app. It's crystalknows.com. It'll do your archetype and your disc personality based on your LinkedIn profile and your email style. Super interesting. Yeah.
Wow.
Very.
I'll have to put that in the show notes.
Yeah.
Was it Crystal?
Crystalknows.com. KNOWS.
Awesome. So if anyone following along, this will be available on the membership site for this interview, all the show notes and the links, interviewtheauthor.com. And as we transition into apps and online tools, so you're obviously very busy. What things do you love to use to streamline your life or things for communication? Apps or tools?
Oh, yeah. So Crystal is actually a good one because when I am communicating a lot with someone, it'll actually give me notes on how to email them and respond to them. So that's super helpful. I use Grammarly so that I don't have to think about.
Love it.
Yeah, literally, they're the best. I can't imagine life without it. I use a lot of delivery apps. I will be honest. That's very true. And then even, I use Trello, and Trello has an app, and I use, Google Docs. I mean, anything that can be. Evernote obviously is a big one. My dad gave this huge speech at my wedding about how he wrote the whole thing on Evernote and how wonderful Evernote was. It went on for like 10 minutes. We were like, we get it. Okay. Evernote sponsoring this wedding or what? Yeah. Yeah, it's like crazy. So yeah, those are some of the best apps for me. And I do a lot of communicating on Telegram and WhatsApp. So obviously, I think a lot of people do, and Slack. I'm like 25 Slack channels. So.
When you go over to more Asia, especially China, you'll have to download WeChat.
Oh yeah, or Ding Talk.
I WeChat's. I think I wouldn't be surprised if WhatsApp moved more and more towards more like WeChat. What you can do.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's like one of the greatest e-commerce sites in the world, right? Like people are making a ton of money selling things on WeChat. It's like incredible.
Yeah, I think here in China, like it's so common now. You'll go up to a restaurant and you'll get your WeChat app, like it's like WhatsApp, and you'll scan to pay by scanning a QR code.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think. Yeah. I mean, China takes everything to the next level, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And last question, I'll keep it a little bit longer than promised. So thanks very much for your time. Is what do you look for in a mentor?
Well, first and foremost, expertise in whatever it is that I'm looking to, improve on, right? Then availability, time. Do they have time? Because if they don't have time, then you're not going to really get much out of that relationship. And And then I think too, communication style. I know it's not the 100%, but you sort of, as you evolve and if you really look at who you are in your communication style, if you're someone, if I have to work on making sure that you're not misinterpreting what I'm saying, then it's not a great mentor relationship, right? It's like it's not authentic because I'm not because they give proper feedback if I'm like tailoring everything to make sure that you're not, your feelings aren't getting hurt. So those are three really important. But of course, expertise without availability or time means nothing for someone looking for a mentor. And people with lots of time but no expertise also means nothing. So it's like, look for that. Look for both.
So typically, then a mentor will be someone that's now out of their career who has expertise and time.
Yeah, and I think it's in the book. Like I found my mentor, and he was the most active member of the Harvard Business Review group on LinkedIn. And I was like, okay, well, there's 1 million people in this group. If you're the most active, you probably have time, and people are listening to you, so you have expertise.
Yeah. Oh, and you email them at like 1 a.m. in the morning. And you're like,
yeah. We still. You should actually interview him. He's written several books. He's amazing. He's best-selling author. Like, I think he sold over 150,000 copies or something of his book, Just Listen. And he's like #1 in China, Russia, and in the prison system, which is interesting. And it's like a very, super cool guy. So I'll send you some information.
Yeah. What was his name again?
Mark. It's Dr. Mark Goulston.
Mark Livingston.
Goulston. Goulston.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I'll write that down. And okay, just going to some little 2 questions of Q&A that's come up most repeatedly. And it's a good transition because you mentioned it just earlier before around your personality type being extrovert. What if people are introverts and they still build a brand?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everybody becomes a superhero behind a keyboard, right? And actually, I hate to. I'm just grabbing my charger real quickly. I think my computer's gonna decline in 1 second.
That would have been good.
Yeah, I looked up and I was like, that's not good. Okay, great. Yeah, of course they can. It's, it's just different obstacles. Everyone's going to have obstacles. They're just your unique set of obstacles. I would say, look around and find people that are influential and also like, obviously Bill Gates has done a lot, but he still does a lot and is very influential. He's an extreme introvert, though. You can see it when he talks. He hates talking. He hates being interviewed. He's like exhausted by it, right? So I think if you're focused on a goal and not specifically the task, then it becomes a lot easier for an introvert type personality to achieve.
Okay. Okay, cool. And the other one that comes up almost the most is the kind of 2 questions in one is how do I get to 100,000 followers fast? Like that's an easy goal. And secondly, with that, can you rely on these, because you do mention one in your book, can you rely on these companies that essentially you're paying for followers and likes? I mean, I was trying to get around it because you can see if a profile's more fake because they'll have a lot of followers but really no engagement.
Mm-hmm.
So is it possible to outsource any of your brand building stuff for vanity metrics and algorithm that still looks legit or not?
Yeah, it is. I think that it goes back to understanding too, just that social media profiles are tools. I look at them as tools. My belief is, and some people don't agree with me, and that's fine, is that if you didn't want me to growth hack your tool, then you should have made a better tool. So, you know, I mean, I think that growth hackers improve the quality and draw attention to loopholes and flaws in the system in a way that it creates positive change. Now, with that said, the other side of it is you can't invite everyone to a party, right? And then they don't know why they're there. So the reason there's no engagement is because people probably forget that they're even following you, right? Like you have to put the work in. They need to. Influence isn't numbers. Influence is being able to move an audience around a very specific subject or topic, right? Like if Elon Musk started randomly talking about knitting and you know, he was just all of a sudden really into knitting and fashion, like 98% of his audience would zero care, right? He might be the least engaged thing he's ever seen. They would really think he's gone off the deep end. He has to stick to what they know they're there for. It's very, very important. So get the message straight of what people can expect from you, and think clearly about what you would expect from someone else. If you get that down and you're truly engaging and you have a purpose, then to be quite honest, I think that it's all fair game. It's, you know what I mean? They're not the government. You're not going to go to jail unless you're doing something terrible. So don't do something terrible, but like, it's okay. So you know, yeah, the only thing that you shouldn't automate is your personality. So, you know, you have to show up. Otherwise, you deserve to be banned if you're just like, whatever. Even these like meme, you know, or like profiles, at least you know why you're there. You want to use a good laugh? Okay, great. This is the profile for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what's your theme? Why you're there? So I mean, at least I position it because I love Bali. I've now all my social media handles have been Bali Live. I got the live from you.
Oh, cool.
It was achieved. It was available. Sorry. And that's the last thing I'll end on. So for the people that know how to reach out to you, if you want to work with you, you do work globally with companies, things like this. What about the small entrepreneur that would love to work with you? So it's also a book that they can buy, which I highly recommend. It's such a good methods, philosophy, but also how to, which I think a lot of brands use. But how else can people work with you if you're a solo entrepreneur? Do you do workshops?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how you want to work with me or even anyone at the company. But you know, I do workshops all over, both corporate and globally. So you know, that's always an opportunity. And if someone is, you know, interested in figuring out how to do it differently, I'm always open to new ideas. That's how the world. Yeah, I don't know everything. So
yeah. I mean, I'll put it publicly here because I plan on moving to Bali next year.
Oh.
So I'll have it here that when people watch this interview, they can put the comments if they're interested. That perhaps when I'm settled in Bali, we can get you out for a workshop and plan an event there.
I've done actually event in Bali. They're the Global Venture Summit. So we work with the startups that are pitching and like improve their pitch or whatever. So you should let me know when you're there because there's some people you should know. There's a ton of amazing entrepreneurs in Bali. It's a great ecosystem.
Yeah, it's just a cooking melting pot.
Yeah.
It's different cultures.
Everyone wants to be in Bali.
Yeah. At least you go for Aussie.
Yeah.
I mean, that wraps up. Thank you so much for all your time. It's been an absolute pleasure. I wish I could talk to you for about 3 more hours. Went a little bit, that's fine. So yeah, anyone that watches this, if they do want to reach out to Cynthia, Instagram, her email, all going to be made available in the notes. Do reach out. A beautiful soul, change the world, it's brand at a time, and we'll have you on the show next time when you've got your second book out perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. This is a lot of fun. And thanks for reading.
Thanks.
Bye.